Who is Sam? Being an entrepreneur always something that's been on your radar? Are you ready for some quick fire questions? Welcome to the JOD Pod, a micro podcast where we interview CEOs, entrepreneurs, coaches, founders, and authors. Today we are joined by Samantha Jayasuriya, founder and leadership energy coach of Sun and Sky Coaching. Sam, great to have you with us today.
It's lovely to be here, James. Really excited.
Fantastic. It's great having you on the show. It really is. Sam, for those of us who don't know who you are and what you do, who is Sam?
Ooh, Sam's lots of things. Sam Jayasuriya, that's my name. I am the owner of Sun and Sky Coaching. And I'm a leadership energy coach. And people might say, what is that, Sam? What is a leadership energy coach? Well, it's somebody who works with individuals or with groups. And I work very much with leaders, as it says on the tin. And they could be experienced leaders, or they could be people who are new into the post. I would say my clients come from half, I would say, education, half from the business sector, mostly in the tech industry, I'm finding, of people who come through to me. And my job is to work with them to help them realise their potential. And that is becoming the leaders that they want to be. And we take a deep dive into who they are. Is that enough for the moment?
Yeah, that's great. That's great. So how long has Sun and Sky Coaching been operating? How long have you been an entrepreneur for?
So I started actually as a part-time as a coach. I was exiting my previous career as a head teacher. I was a head for 20 years in 3 different schools. So getting the best out of people, really realising people's potential has always been part of my life. And as I say, I've always been a leadership energy coach. I pulled the company together in 2016. So I worked part-time, half head, half coach, and then full-time coaching from 2018. And I'm loving every minute of it.
I can tell. I follow you on Instagram. Obviously, we're connected elsewhere as well. But it's so fantastic to see you pop up in my feed, and the energy that I get from your feed is fantastic. Do follow Sam on Instagram.
That's
I'm
good.
sure we'll put a link up to that into the show notes.
Excellent.
It seems that this is a strange question. It seems a strange route to go from being a head to being an entrepreneur and running a business. Is being an entrepreneur always something that's been on your radar?
I think it has, actually. In fact, it was probably on my parents' radar. And I went, no. I had a very, very typical Asian, Sri Lankan dad who was like, he wanted me to be going into the business world because that's the world that he was in. And I didn't want to do that. I just wanted to walk my own path and take my own journey. Actually, as a head, though, you remember I just said to you I was a head for 20 years, in 3 different places. There is a bit there about running. It's like running a business. Yes, I know the money came from somebody else and I wasn't generating it, but I was generating clients through the way I managed the schools and led the schools so that people came to the school and wanted to be there. Parents came with their children and children stayed. So I knew it was going to be in my life somewhere. I think there was that sort of like desire to create something special, which I've got with Sun and Sky Coaching.
That's wonderful. I think that's something that's I've noticed with a lot of entrepreneurs is that they have a career, but then they just want to build something. They want to create something that's theirs. They can, put their flag in and say, I did that. That's really interesting. One of the things,
and that's the creative bit. That's the creative bit about being a teacher, though, as well. There's that creative side. I think that's just snowballed. It's got bigger and bigger, and so the creative energy comes out very much in the work that I do.
One of the questions that I ask a lot of the guests that are on the JOD Pod is a lot of people want to be entrepreneurs and make the step. They build their website, they set up their Instagram accounts, they do all the fun stuff. But then some hit an obstacle when they're trying to get their customers, particularly their first customer. Can you remember when you got your first customer and how that happened?
At first paying customer, so I actually do quite a lot of coaching for free, as I said before. My first paying customer, I went to one of the schools that I had been working with in the consortium of heads, and just said, I'm here, I'm now working as a coach, and want to work with some of your new leaders, and had a meeting. And she said, yeah, I'd like to work with so-and-so, so-and-so, and so-and-so. And I had to stop myself from falling off the chair. It was really exciting. It was really exciting. So I use my network. I'm a networker. You know that I'm a networker. I'm somebody who likes to talk to other people, and so I will follow up and network. So I do remember it.
That would have been that network. It wouldn't have just started when you became an entrepreneur. That's something you're naturally doing and thinking about. Whilst, as a head, making sure you've got connections and network that you can rely on.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I think I've carried that on with training. If I've gone on various different training courses, extending my repertoire as a coach. I'll meet other coaches. We'll do collaborations, and then the network grows.
Wonderful. That's great. I think it's so key for anybody that's thinking about starting a business, is that having a network. They don't have to be your ideal client. They don't have to be the people that eventually become your clients. So having a network is so powerful for referrals and for supporting you and keeping you going. That's really great, Samantha. It's great to see that. So what are you working on now? What's your main focus?
So last year, in the midst of the pandemic, and I do quite a lot of in-person coaching, so that and training as well, and that sort of ground to a horse around March time, and it quickly went onto line. So I kind of switched that quite quickly onto line, but I had time actually to think about the new leaders in education settings, and so I pulled together a piece of training. I call it evolution, and it's training and coaching. It's a blend actually, and I was targeting people who I think, and I know actually in my life as a head, were sometimes missed. Your teacher, you do that job for a couple of years, and then somebody says, oh, would you like to be head of key stage, literacy lead, junior head of department? And there are courses to support those, but they don't actually really focus on who they are as a person and what they need to leave behind before they become a leader of that team or that area or that subject. Because we carry stuff with us from school into uni, into the first job, and it's like a bit like, you carry it on your back in a rucksack and you kind of pull it out. But sometimes some of those things just weigh us down. They might be somebody else's way of leading. It might be somebody else's, particular style that we think, oh, that's quite good, I'll carry it with me. But it's not us. So my course Evolution is it's a 12-hour training course split over 4 sessions, spread over a term, in a school's term. And then in between we have, they have an individual coaching session with me. And what they're doing is they are evolving, as the title suggests, into these empowered, energized, enriched, engaged leaders who are very comfortable in their own skin. So that's what I'm working on. So far, since last year, I've worked with 15 new leaders, and I'm now recruiting and looking for people to join my next cohort, which starts in September. And then this group will be with me from September, October, November, December, and they'll have their last coaching session in January 2022.
Wonderful.
So each term, I'll just open up the group for 12 more people.
And it's interesting because I haven't worked in the kind of school-based education, but I've seen it a lot in managers, particularly when they're first asked to manage. There's almost little to no training that they're given. They're essentially given an apprentice or given an extra bit of responsibility and expected just to kind of step up and do it. And in so many careers where you're, for want of a better term, you're like a player manager. You're having to do the job and manage people that are doing the job as well. And it's always such a tough tough.
It's a tough call. It really is a tough call. And what I do with the training bit is actually I teach them some coaching skills. So I teach them some coaching skills that they then practice with each other. So there's, it's a sense of safe space. We're practicing this. This is what, this is a chance for you to make those mistakes. No criticism, building confidence so that when they go back into their organisation, then they naturally start to ask questions rather than give solutions. Because one of the issues with teachers, and I'm sure you know this, is that often they can just take on a lot on their shoulders and they give, but they're not actually empowering other people in their team. Because these new leaders, they might be, 3 years into their career, they are potentially going to be the heads of the future. Yeah. And so I've seen long term, this person, if they know how to coach others to get the best out of their team, when they're ahead, they're going to be doing that naturally. That's the kind of schools that all children will be working within. That's a nice vision,
yes,
I think.
Yes, definitely is. Sam, I hope you manage to support many more young teachers that are making that transition into leadership and helping them with their coaching going forwards. I think it's it's so important that they are supported in that difficult transition. And I'm sure you help out people outside of education in that kind of space.
Absolutely, I do work with lots of business leaders as well.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that, Sam. And we'll put a link to your website down below. So if there is any anybody in education, any young teachers out there that are going through this evolution of their career, they can reach out to Sam directly and have a conversation. I'm sure she'd be more than willing to set you on the right course. Are you ready for some quick fire questions in the meantime, Sam?
Oh, I think so.
Nice and easy to start with. What's your favourite app or SaaS product?
Okay, I'm going to go for Instagram, and I love Instagram. It gives me energy. I love looking at people's feeds. I'm nosy. And then I also like to start to get a bit creative. And if you scroll through my feed, you can see the sort of various different things I've tried. And I'm really quite open about that. It kind of change, and I'll do some lives, and then you might see me not doing some lives, but it's fun. It's fun, and it's a way of me interacting. So I've tested myself as an entrepreneur through Instagram. Try this. Try that little bit of marketing. Put some link trees up. I had no idea about Linktree. It's like a whole new world for me. Simple things that other people might know. I've learned through just looking at other people's feeds and thinking, oh, that's an interesting idea. Stories. My next forays into reels. Haven't done one of those yet.
And are you finding that you're getting results from the effort that you're putting into Instagram?
So, am I getting results? So not necessarily in terms of business. I'm getting more followers, and I'm quite, I haven't got a massive amount of followers, but I also cull the ones which I know are just bots, because I really don't want to. I could just keep them. Probably would have had 1,000 followers by now. Some random stranger with a gun. I'm sorry, I don't have one. So you know those ones. I'm sure you get things, or somebody with some very strange people, which I know they're not people. So I'll just cull those because I don't really want those. Yeah, so I could have, I probably would have had over 1,000, but that's not important to me. So yes, in terms of engagement, I think I get people engaging, and I think people are getting to know me. I think it's really important that people know me and they know me as the true Sam. If I'm working with leaders and I'm aiming for them to have that authentic voice of themselves, they need to see it. They need to see it. Me walking the talk.
I think that's one of the biggest things with Instagram is I don't necessarily think it engages too much action. It's very difficult as a platform to get people to take action unless you're selling something and using the shopping facilities there. But if people want to check up on you because they know you and they just want to establish a little bit more about who you are and what you stand for, it's a really great platform for that from a branding perspective. So that's great. And I love following them on Instagram. There is energy coming from Sam on Instagram. There definitely is. Sam, what's your most recommended book?
Okay, I'm going to pick what I've got. You can see behind me I've got a lot of books. I read a lot of books. I have a lot of books on the go. I'll read many books at the same time. But I'm going to show you this book. I don't know if it's reversed. It's called Awestruck. Awestruck by Jonah Paquette. And he's a clinical psychologist and a speaker and an author. And it was published last year in 2020, so it's relatively new. And it's all about the power of awe and wonder. You know, when you're standing and you're looking at a sky full of stars, you know, and you're standing next to somebody and you look up and you think, oh my goodness me. A couple of weeks ago, it was the partial eclipse of the sun. Last night, there was a really massive, huge, beautiful full moon. And it's those wonderful moments that create connection. You know, you can get the shivers down the back of your neck. You know what I'm talking about, don't you? Probably like when your son was born. Yeah, even
I still feel that sometimes. Yeah.
You know, like when your son was born, I can imagine you probably had that. That like, wow, there's a life here. So it's also the negative awe, you know, like the tornadoes and the tsunamis and the earthquakes. But it's a way of connecting with others, and humans like to connect with others. So the power of awe, and actually finding more awe in your daily life, I think is so incredible.
Wonderful. That's a great recommendation. Thanks for that, Sam. Never heard of that book before, so I will be adding that to my want to read list. Thank you very much, Sam. Who do you like watching on the YouTubes or listening to on the podcasts?
Well, obviously you. There's a couple of people, but I really tune in regularly to Whitney Johnson, Disrupt Yourself. I like that. She interviews a whole range of different people who come from all sorts of sort of strange routes, and they either take a leap and they do something really different. And that's exciting and interesting for me. And I also listen quite a lot to Ranjan Chatterjee.
Who's an up-and-comer, someone that we should be keeping an eye on, maybe as a future Musk, Bezos or Huffington?
See, I had a thought about this. I was thinking, well, actually it's not about the money. Because I think it's more about, I think we need to be looking about people who are really making a difference in the sustainability kind of industry. And it's about, you know, your children, my children, hopefully if I have grandchildren, making sure that this world is a better place. So I'm going to pick somebody who, I love their TED Talk. May not be hugely well known by everybody else, but Andreas Roberts, and he runs the Bio Leadership Project. And I just recommend people just go and listen to his TED Talk and then tune in to what he's doing with people and how he's getting people to engage with the land and the world around them in a very practical way.
That's wonderful. I will look up Andreas. I'll put a link to his TED Talk in the show notes so that we can have
really
a look
good
at that as well. And I think, totally sustainability. Like we've burned through so much of our resources over the last 50 years. It'd be good to get some leaders that are actually not thinking about the share prices, actually thinking about
or jetting off to Mars. I mean, obviously, I'd love to go to Mars. Genuinely would love to go to Mars. I'd love to go to the moon. But we've also got to think about this place that we live on.
Yes, I agree. Thank you for sharing that for us, Sam. And where's the best place for people to follow you and see your story and get engaged with what you're doing?
All right, so definitely Instagram, Sun and Sky Coaching. Come and find me there. I'm on LinkedIn, and hopefully you might be able to put in links. I've just dusted off on a blog because I'm writing more now as well. So I do obviously do coaching and training and everything, but I'm also writing. So my blog is called There's No Place, and I started it in 2009. There was not a lot on there. It was a lot about creating and knitting and sewing and what have you. But I'm writing more in terms of poetry, short stories. I'm writing a book, so I'm blogging about writing and adding in a few pieces from time to time.
Wonderful, and that's at your. Where are you blogging?
It's actually called There's No Place blog.com. I haven't given you the link.
Give
I
me
will.
the link, because
I will.
People would like to be interested in that side of what you're talking about.
Yes.
There we have it. Samantha Jayasuriya is the founder and leadership energy coach at Sun and Sky Coaching. She coaches successful leaders so that they can become the leaders that they want to be. She got her first client by networking, offering free coaching, and then going to her existing network and talking about her products. It's amazing what networking can do for you, isn't it, Sam?
Mm.
The app that she loves is Instagram. It brings her energy and it lets her experiment with a creative flow. Go and watch Sam on Instagram. It brings a smile to your face. She thinks we should all be reading Awestruck by Jonah Pickett. I will put a link to that in the show notes so people can follow up on that. I'd love to experience more awe every single day. And Sam loves watching Whitney Johnson, Disrupt Yourself, and Ranjan Chatterjee, which we can't remember the name of his podcast, but I'm sure he doesn't need too much.
Feel Better, Live More.
Probably doesn't need our help to build his listener numbers, but if he doesn't,
he's got a lot.
Go and see what he's doing. And we should be keeping an eye on Andreas Roberts, the leader or the founder of the Bio Leadership Project. He's got a TED Talk. He's making a difference in the world through talking about different types of sustainability. Really interesting there. And you can follow what Sam's doing more. Head to Instagram and check out Sun and Sky Coaching, and also her website. That's sunskycoaching.co.uk. That's sunskycoaching.co.uk. Sam, thanks for joining us today on the JOD Pod.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you for joining us today on the JOD Pod. To listen to more, or to see more entertaining, inspiring interviews like today's with Sam, you need to play the YouTube game. You need to hit subscribe, hit the bell, hit the thumbie uppy button, and why not ask Sam a question in the comments? I will bully Sam to come back and answer every single one of them. If you're a teacher and you're looking to improve your leadership skills, come along. If you're a leader in tech, come along. Ask them questions. Sam has got a fantastic outlook on life and leadership, and I'm sure she'll be able to help you out and point you in the right direction. Please, hopefully you've been inspired by what Sam has been talking about today and you want to start your own business or start coaching. That's what this is all about. Step out of your comfort zone and create something for yourself and go and inspire the next generation. Thanks for joining us today on the JOD Pod. If you enjoyed this interview, why don't you check out some of these other interviews that we've done on the JOD Pod. More inspirational CEOs, coaches, entrepreneurs, founders, and authors. I'm sure there's something here that will inspire you to build something new.